campaign any black media outlet has ever undertaken to combat the climate catastrophe. Experts, events, empowerment. It's all on the way from unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We don't black down. We level up.
Level up, 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 level up.
Isley and that guitar, man.
Tuesday lover, girl, I'm so proud of you. I'm so glad you chose me, baby. I'll make you so happy. Thought I had a lover. Thought I had a lover. But I was kidding myself, baby. By the time I learned the truth about it, she was sleeping with someone else. Oh, but not you, baby.
Come on. Anytime is a good time for the Isley Brothers. I really feel like they have some of my favorite songs in life. Like, I don't automatically go to and think of the Isley Brothers, but you can drop a lot of things from their catalog. All the ones that you think of, you know, Choosy Lover, Between the Sheets, Who's That Lady? You know, the list goes on, obviously, and you instantly feel good. And Ron Isley's voice, Ernie on that guitar, man, that is what you call a classic.
They hella sampled the Isley Brothers. Hip hop.
That's what I was gonna say. They're one of the most sampled groups ever, right?
Probably need to do some research, but just every time I listen to an Isley Brothers song, I'm just like, man, they didn't sample this one.
Burned it to the ground, right?
But I got a question for you, though.
Yep.
So, you know, we were just kind of enamored by the guitar, right?
Right.
What is the most, I guess, sexiest or most romantic, or what instrument puts you in that mood? Or what instruments? Because that guitar right there was just one of them there.
That's a banger. I suppose maybe, you know, obviously a piano, because that is the basis of everything, right?
You think so, a piano?
You think about some of the dope acapella, like, well, it's not acapella if it has a piano, but you think of like stripped down production with songs like Prince, How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore, right?
Okay.
Or you could think about the Alicia Keys version, or you think about what was so enamoring about Alicia Keys when she first dropped was because she was playing the piano and the keyboards was a strong backing of her song. It was like the centerpiece along with her voice, right? So I'm gonna say, you know, the guitar. We just had electric guitar.
Yeah.
Piano, keyboard.
You're missing one instrument.
What?
No, go ahead.
The drums?
Nope, not the drums.
Okay.
I don't think the drums.
I was gonna say saxophone.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Okay, because I was gonna say Sade. You can't think about, like, you know, Love Is a Crime, or you know, anything like that without a saxophone. So, you know, those are my thoughts. And Thomas Outlaw says alto saxophone, my high school instrument. Well, there you go. The alto sax, that's like the one that kind of looks like a clarinet, right? Like it's yeah, an alto sax, not the regular big. The alto sax, I feel like it kind of resembles a clarinet, low key. It's a saxophone, but I don't know. I could be jacking that up because orchestra, band, whatever one the saxophone fell under, that was like 5th grade. That was a long time ago.
I think the sax was in band.
The Sax was in band.
Because I was in orchestra. I played the flute. Shout out to the flute.
Okay, I played the flute
You
and the
already know.
violin.
You already
So
know.
yeah, that was the orchestra side, and then the band. So I probably never was in band. So
I look back and I'm like, man, I should have hopped on the drums, and I definitely should have hopped on the keys. I mean, I know it's not too late, but the drums to me, you know, it sets the tone for most music. So the drums is where it's at.
I do. Sheila E. made me want to, get into percussions and play the drums. My parents were like, absolutely not, because who wants to hear somebody practicing drums? Right? You think about how well off this era has it, because they could put their headphones in. There's all types of computerized programs to make them go through that. All you had back in the day was that little drum pad. It was like a little white foam thing on a wood square block, or your actual drums. And okay, Trent is in the chat and says that's the soprano sax that resembles the clarinet. Well, listen, I knew that there was a difference with one of them. Okay, well, there you go. Shout out to y'all, band geeks. Me too. And Forensic Accountant says he's been playing the alto sax since 81. Forensic Accountant, how old are you? I'm just wondering. You don't have to say. I'm just a little curious about that. No judgment. Huh?
So shout out to the OG.
That is the OG, because, you have some references. So I don't know. That's not something I was expecting to hear. 81. What was going on in 81? I mean, I don't even know, man. I don't remember. It's not a standout year for me. I just know something's happening in life. So listen, when we come forward, we are going to get into your boy Stephen A's comments. Stephen A, as a 50-something-year-old bachelor, and that's no shade again, no problem with that, just pointing that out, that he's never been married. So I feel like that likely shapes his opinions on some of these topics. And, we're going to get into his thoughts on why you should date a 7 over a 10. We're also going to get into songwriter Tiffany Red. She wrote an open letter to Diddy. She was a good friend of Cassie's and allegedly was a witness to some of the incidents that Cassie mentioned in her lawsuit. And she discussed the trauma that she suffered having witnessed that and seeing that still coming down for Diddy. Forensic Accountant says added the tenor saxophone in 86. I'm right there with you, Miss Woman. I don't know. In 81, what was I doing in 81? I don't know if I was doing the same thing you were doing, but trust and believe, you feel like you know something, so maybe you do. We'll get into that on the other side. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
We wish you a holiday season filled with peace and love, and a new year rich with blessings. Mask up and stay safe. From all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
People making lists, buying special gifts.
JP Morgan Chase is building on the investments in California and around the country to help close the racial wealth gap and build a more equitable future. As part of JP Morgan Chase commitment, they are taking action to help improve financial wealth and access to banking in the Black community, helping more people open low-cost checking and savings accounts, hosting community seminars with supporting Black-led institutions by building awareness about financial investments, hiring community managers, and opening community center branches like Crenshaw, Inglewood, and downtown LA. Visit today, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Again, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Get the tools to help reach your financial goals. Visit today, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Again, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminding you that we keep us safe. Pro Football Hall of Famer and urban peace pioneer Jim Brown believed in just that. So he founded the Amera I Can Foundation for Social Change in 1988, focusing on at-risk and high-risk youth in underserved schools and juvenile detention facilities, as well as adult incarceration and reentry initiatives. The core of the Amera I Can program is its 15-chapter life skills curriculum. Mastery of these skills allows individuals to meet their academic potential, conform their behavior to acceptable societal standards, and improve the quality of their lives by equipping them with what they need to confidently and successfully contribute to society. Today, the foundation is led by its president, Monique Brown, who has been actively involved in the organization for more than 25 years. The Amera I Can Foundation continues its work in memory of its founder, actor, philanthropist, and NFL legend Jim Brown. To get involved or make a donation, please visit AmeriICanCommunity.partners. That's AmeriICanCommunity.partners. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Okay, so shout out to Trent in the chat. He said 1981, never too much Luther Vandross. Forensic accountant also brought up that was the year that Ronald Reagan was nearly assassinated. It wasn't that long ago. I remember that vividly because as little kids in the classroom, when our teacher announced this, and I had a black teacher at that time, which I'm told was a rarity, but, I don't know. This was in the 80s, I guess. The class, we clapped when they announced that. And we got in so much trouble. Our teacher, explained why no matter how we felt. And here's the thing, we were little kids, so why are we really clapping? Just because of whatever we heard that, Reagan was spreading as far as what he was doing to the economy, us, the world. We didn't really know, but I know that we were all clapping and our teacher laid into us. But it was an important lesson because it's a lesson about tact. It was a lesson about, empathy, knowing the right moment. But it really was interesting when I look back at it because whole class busted out in applause. Andy?
Well, you shouldn't feel too bad. I know I'm about to give my age, but in middle school, I'll never forget, I was in my orchestra class. And the verdict for the OJ case, you know what I'm saying? I remember my teacher stopped class, brought the TV, we watched it, and when they said not guilty, all the black people in that class, we was over here cheering, going crazy. But I think America, black America, I think we all kind of celebrated that at the time being.
I mean, and the thing is, that was a complicated case because it was about, yes, what happened that night and, 2 lives lost and trying to get to the bottom of that. But symbolically, it represented so much more. It represented the struggle of, black, no matter if you are successful or not, you can potentially be framed because here's the thing, right? Regardless as to whether you feel OJ was innocent or guilty, we do know that Mark Fuhrman did some things in the course of that case that were not by the book. And if he's doing that here, can you imagine what he was doing and his type were doing with the regular people? And that is why I feel like at that time, the reaction was one of elation, not so much about OJ, really, but about what the case and what black people had always discussed and talked about and shared that happens, in the course of something normal. Everyone, no matter how you feel, is deserving of certain rights extended to them. And the reason why we extend those rights to everyone, including those that are unjust and may not necessarily deserve it, is so that the innocent are protected in that. That is what the law is supposed to be about. You serve everyone in order to make sure that the small minority, the powerless, the voiceless are still protected in that. So, that's a quick side. Forensic accountant said he graduated high school in the 80s. He was 16 and had one eye on C-SPAN and the other on HBO After Dark. That tracks. Thomas Outlaw says, forget following OJ. I still want to know who won that Rockets-Knicks game. Oh, from the OJ from the night when the chase.
I believe that was game 6.
I think it was.
And the
Wow.
Rockets won that game.
Okay. I remember that. I remember they interrupted in the white Broncos slow speed chase. Man, what a time. Okay, well, really quickly, back to 81. 81 actually had quite a bit of heat, and I just didn't realize it. So Let's Groove dropped in 81, Earth, Wind, and Fire. Never Too Much, as we mentioned, Luther Vandross. Before I Let Go, Frankie Beverly and Mays. The Ultimate Line, End of the Night song, came out in 81. Give It To Me, Baby, Rick James. Just the Two of Us. I think, what is that, Grover Washington? I think that's, or I can't remember, something like that. The Gap Band, Yearning for Your Love. Lionel Richie and Diana Ross, Endless Love. And Shaka Khan, What You Gonna Do For Me. Those are some of the songs that were out, the heat that was released in 81. And if you want to talk films, well, there is this movie that people never talk about anymore that as a little kid, I have no idea why, was one of my favorite movies. It was this movie called Porky's. And it was just like one of my favorite movies. Stripes also came out that year with Bill Murray. And that's the fact, Jack. I don't know why they said that in there. I just know that was said in there, and it was very popular. A film called The Postman Always Rings Twice. I think that was an Academy Award winner. Starred Jack Nicholson. Pee Wee Herman, he came out. His film dropped in 81. The Howling, that was a classic horror film. This under-the-radar horror comedy film called Student Bodies that, once again, something stupid that I loved as a kid. Anyway, Mommy Dearest, Ragtime on Golden Pond, and that was an Academy Award winner, and that had Jane Fonda and her father, Henry Fonda, in it. And it was about love amongst the elderly, and it was a big thing because it had the stars of the elder generation, and it won a lot of awards. And Quest for Fire, which was about the creation of fire. I think that was an award winner too. So anyway, 81 kind of had some heat, but I would not have remembered all of that. So shout out to you guys. So listen, your guy, Steve, Forensic Account, yeah, you are a little vintage. Porky's, Miss Ballbricker. You definitely remember a lot. You definitely are in the building. So your guy, Stephen A., he has a certain perspective on life. As Andy has just pointed out, he's a seasoned man, so he's experienced a lot. He's also been around the sports and entertainment realm for about the last 30 plus years. So that also colors his view of things in life. And so through his trials and tribulations, he has ascertained that the ultimate relationship should be with a woman, he thinks, that is a 7. A strong 7, as opposed to a weak 7. What is a weak 7? Closer to a 6 than a 7? Because he does mention that the good thing about a 7 is you can dress him up to an 8. But we're going to listen to why Stephen A. believes that 10s are a no-go, and, his rationale behind why a 9 still not worthy, an 8 still could be problems, and a 7 is the place that you have to be at.
To listen. I want the ladies to listen, but all the men, there's no man alive that would disagree with what I'm about to say. You want a strong 7. Let me tell you why. 10, fine as all get out, tat out, body, looking fine, everything like that, got it going on. Too much maintenance. Too much, because she knows she fine. And you're expendable. She could take you or leave you. A 9, that's a problem too. Because you got enough people telling her she's a 10, so half of them acting that way. And by the way, the ones that ain't acting that way still require more from you than what others might. And so you got to be up on your game. That's problematic. 8, that's ideal. Because that's really, really good looking. She got it going on. But at the same time, there's a level of independence that comes with it, which is never a bad thing until she's so independent that she's making you feel like you need to be more dependent on her than she needs to be on you. So there's too many opportunities and too much time that's wasting away where you're not feeling like that dude. You're feeling like a dude, not that dude. Here's where the strong 7 comes in. Looks-wise, she can compete with an 8. But her mentality is not that of an 8. So she's more appreciative of you wanting her. As a result, she shows an elevated appreciation for you wanting her. Therefore, she treats you like she wants you. And as a result, y'all have more of a good time together. Fellas, am I lying? Fellas, am I lying? Everybody know I'm telling the truth. Everybody know I'm telling the truth. This is what it is. Strong 7.
So listen, in theory, he's not wrong, right? It is why women are told to find a man who loves you more than you love him, right? You want someone that they feel like, by this notion, by this line of thinking, that feels like you're the prize, right? That is going to treat you like, I am lucky to be with you, right? Problem is, I do not think that men are supposed to think of themselves as the prize in the relationship thing. That's not your role in that. I am not saying that you are not to think that you are valuable and are of worth, but you are not the prize in the relationship equation.
You're wrong, Jill.
I'm wrong?
You're wrong.
Why am I wrong?
Because we're both the prize.
Okay. So I get what you're saying. However, right? Old school thinking slightly. The woman is the jewel, the flower, whatever. If you get to do the deciding, right? If you get to make those choices, then the woman gets to be the delicate flower and the jewel and the protected. That is what that is about. That's what the prize is. The prize is the thing that gets protected. The chat is going crazy. Forensic accountant says Stephen A is so irrelevant in the dating space. Stop, bruh. 7, 8, 9, or 10. Her butt is going to be chopping wood at the forensic compound. So are you saying you only date 11s? That the 7, 8, 9s, and 10s get cast off to the side? Or are you saying if the attitude is not in check, they can go no matter their ranking on your scale? Thomas Outlaw says, ladies aren't numbers. That's why Stephen A. Smith is a bachelor, but his volume is at an 11. Kendi says, let me cook on this. So Kendi's about to give us some math, I suppose. It is important to note that Stephen A. is a beta male, and when he speaks, it is from a beta male's perspective. Stephen knows that if he ever got a 10, there would be plenty about him that would lead such a woman to cheat on him. And it would take for that to happen, and all it would take for that to happen would be a man who is better than him. That kind of man is the man he knows the 10 really wants and would actually be attracted to. He knows he'll never be that man. Someone who isn't a beta male would never ponder about what type of woman would cheat on him because he would assume no woman would cheat on him.
First off, all men already think like that.
Boom. Okay. I mean, this is my thing. Like I said, in theory, I get where he's going. But to dabble a little bit in what Kendi says, it does seem a little like, center me. oh, if she's a 10, she's going to think that I can go get with anybody else, and she's not going to feel like I'm the best thing and I better tighten up to hold on to me, right? He said that 7 is going to be grateful. They're going to be like, dang, I got a shot with a good man, and he's going to
100%.
upgrade and elevate me, right? The 10 is like, everybody is going to want to upgrade me. It's not
Exactly.
just you, right?
Exactly.
So he doesn't want to deal with that competition. I wonder what the woman that he is dating feels like when she hears something like that.
They probably had that discussion beforehand.
I do. Here's my thing. Like, in theory, you know that everybody's not going to think you're the best thing, even if you love somebody. But I feel like I would have a hard time if my man was like, yeah, you're about a 7. You know, on a good day, you could bump up to an 8. That seems mean. I don't think I would like that. I want you to feel away. I want you to feel overwhelmed with, emotion about me and my beauty. I don't know. Don't be like, you'll do.
I think there's a little bit of facetiousness coming from Stephen A. as well. You got
course.
to understand he's an entertainer.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to the scale, I think the scale is what is it? It's relative, obviously, right? One person's 10 could be somebody's 7. Somebody's 7 could be somebody's 10.
Absolutely.
So, but I think the key thing is taking looks out of it. It is more so the mentality.
Facts.
To me, that's what's highlighted, because I think a 10, stereotypically speaking, I can understand. Nobody wants to deal with a high mate. Let me speak for myself. I mean, I am taken, but most men don't want to deal with a high maintenance woman unless that individual is high maintenance himself.
What defines a high maintenance woman?
Somebody who's just extremely vain.
Okay.
Has spotlight. I gotta have the Balenciagas, everything name brand. The lady talking about, what did she say? I'm too good for you to take me to Cheesecake Factory. That type of mentality right there.
Okay. I see that. Well, listen. Like I said, there's a modicum of truth to it, because if you get with someone that thinks that you're the best thing is sliced bread, in theory, they might put forth a little more effort, right? Try a little harder.
And I think you could use that same scale for men as well, too.
You can.
There's some cocky men out there.
There absolutely are. You don't want a man who thinks he's too pretty or prettier than you. That's a problem. That can lead to other types of situations. We'll get more into that on the other side. You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580 News and Sports. That's what.
I never worry about you. Never worry about you, baby. Jumping in and out of there. No, not my baby. She'll say lover. You're so true. Girl, I'm so proud of you.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. New Yorkers are reacting to a poll that gives Black New York City Mayor Eric Adams some pretty low numbers. According to the Quinnipiac poll, only 28% of voters approve of the job Adams is doing, down from 37% in February. That's the lowest approval rating for a New York City mayor since Quinnipiac started polling voters in 1996. As the FBI investigates the mayor's 2021 campaign, 22% of voters think he did something illegal, while another 30% believe he did something unethical. Former President Trump's New York fraud trial is moving along. An accountant is testifying in Trump's defense. The former president is also expected to testify on Monday as the last witness in the defense case. The Office of Black New York Attorney General Letitia James is suing the Trumps and the Trump Organization for allegedly inflating financial statements by billions of dollars. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payton on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Grab your crush and head to Sheraton San Diego Hotel and Marina for a boat picnic of champagne and charcuterie in the heart of the harbor. Love is in the air and on the water when you explore your next getaway at crushingonfall.com. That's crushingonfall.com.
environmental justice, pollution, and climate. In Los Angeles and across America, people of color are suffering and dying from disproportionate health impacts on a planet that has less than 10 years to prevent irreversible damage. Heat illnesses, respiratory illnesses, water-related illnesses, food system impacts, insect-related diseases, Black maternal health, and mental health effects. As the impacts of climate change mount, millions of vulnerable people, our people, are going to bear the brunt of these extreme environmental events, which will likely lead to forced displacement, loss of cultural identity, and other related risks. These realities are as real as rain. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details about the most progressive multimedia and live events campaign any Black media outlet has ever undertaken to combat the climate catastrophe. Experts, events, empowerment. It's all on the way from unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We don't black down. We level up.
Level up, 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 level up.
Every child deserves the best teachers, facilities, and academic programs to set them up for success. At Milton Hershey School in Hershey, Pennsylvania, we make that a reality for children from qualifying families who are looking for greater opportunities. Milton Hershey School enrolls students from pre-K through 12th grade from across the United States to live and learn on a beautiful state-of-the-art campus with all costs covered. Are you looking to set your child up for success or know a child who could benefit from Milton Hershey School? Learn more at mhskids.org/admissions.
Turning my pain into purpose is pretty much what I have done to start this foundation.
In August 2020, after the death of George Floyd, Bridget Floyd and other family members established the George Floyd Memorial Foundation in support of the Black community.
It's going to take more than just us as a foundation. It's going to take the community, the world, to make a change.
Fight for racial justice for the Black community. Learn how at lovehasnolabels.com. Brought to you by Love Has No Labels and the Ad Council.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Is your eyesight changing?
I can't read this anymore.
Don't lose hope. People just like you are working every day using Braille, screen magnification, speech technology, and other tools and blindness skills. Your eyesight may have changed, but your goals, they don't have to. We can help. Visit us on the web at blind.org. The National Federation of the Blind. Live the life you want.
Now. We tend not to think about now. We dream about tomorrow, relive yesterday. But right now in front of us is victory over cancer. Right now, cancer research funded by the V Foundation is leading to better treatments and saving lives. Victory over cancer is there for the taking by you, because today's cancer research is tomorrow's victory. Learn more at v.org.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Mom's early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
And when I left the oven on, we decided together that it was time to see a doctor and make a plan.
Early detection gave us more time to seek out information and support as a family.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time-to-talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Shorty rock to the beat for your boy. Shorty, yeah, do it, yeah. Rock to the beat for your boy. Radio killer, yeah, killer. Shorty clap it, shorty type it. I should've stayed there all night it with you. With you, I missed your picture. Now it's time I get back up with you, girl, with you. Oh yeah, we used to kick it up at the park, but now she's all grown up, rocking them stilettos, jumping up out of that Mercedes truck. Ooh, it was Keisha, it was Sonia, it was Tanya, it was Moni, it was Niecy, it was Kiki. Hey, now to see you at 23, all I can say is
welcome back into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. So, real quick, this has nothing to do with what we were previously talking about or what we're going to be talking about. But since we're listening to The Dream, do you think The Dream deserves to be like in the Songwriters Hall of Fame or one of those type of bodies? I feel like even though we know, like, everybody seems to like The Dream and they think about the songs he's done from Beyonce. Some people may not even know how many songs he's done with B. But I still feel like he's kind of an underrated artist. He's like, if you know, you know, but people don't really think about, like, how much stuff The Dream has that just slaps. So I just wonder if later on he'll be one of those people, like, people will dig back into his catalog or some of those when he was releasing those mix CDs. They had a couple of little joints on there. So I don't know. Forensic Accountant says no way. Interesting. I think The Dream has one of the sickest pen games. And as far as, technically putting together a song, of a lot of the songwriters in the past, at least 10 to 15 years. I know he's been out longer than that, but I think he's up there. Andy?
He's definitely up there. I just, people, if you don't pay attention to, like, the credits and stuff like that, you're not going to know a lot of the work that he's done behind the scenes. Like the Carter album, if I'm not mistaken, Jay-Z and Beyonce, he was behind that big time. I want to say Watch the Throne with Jay-Z and Kanye.
Yeah,
he was behind that big time. And I want to say he's behind a lot of Beyonce records as well, too.
He is.
So,
absolutely.
Pen game is crucial.
I think so, too. So Forensic Accountant mentions Neo. Neo's a great songwriter, of course, but I feel like The Dream has more range. Now, The Dream does have a sound, but I feel like he has more range as far as the type of songs and music he puts out. But, that's a conversation that we can have at another time because, I just think it's fun. So we've been talking about all of these acts that are linked to the New York Sexual Survivors Act. We know that there is a similar version of it that is taking place in California. And I think that there is still quite a bit of time before it closes off. So, we could have our own version of that coming up very shortly in the run. There's a songwriter. Her name is Tiffany Red. And she was good friends with Cassie, and they were working together at a time years ago on a project that never came out. And so today she released an open letter to Diddy about her experience, and she just wanted to relay it. Some people are like, why didn't you say something sooner? Are you just looking for a check? All of the conversations that we have had about the women that have made accusations that were actually one-to-one. This is trauma relating to having seen it or been around. And I mean, certainly it's plausible. Things like PTSD don't just necessarily involve the act. They involve the act of, being in the presence of. So it's very much something that could happen, but it's not as if she's brought a suit against him. She just felt like she wanted to clear the air and share this information. Again, some do think that she might have been clout chasing, but I don't know. She wrote this letter. There was a Rolling Stone article that was released that contained, a lot of details about tracking basically Puffy and who was around him at the time and who might be also culpable in some way to these accusations. So this was Tiffany's letter. Dear Sean Combs, I'm stepping forward to recount my experience as a witness to events detailed in my friend Cassandra Ventura's now settled civil lawsuit against you. I'm breaking my silence, freeing myself from haunting recollections, standing in solidarity with Cassie, and standing up for myself. I fear for my safety as her suit alludes to me, although not by name. I hope that by revealing my identity to the public, that will afford me some measure of protection. Cassie and I became friends in 2015 while co-writing songs for her album that you never released. We remain good friends till this very day, and I am one of the friends who was mentioned in her lawsuit, specifically from the night of her 29th birthday, as detailed in the section labeled Mr. Combs Forces Miss Ventura into Sex Trafficking. The weight is heavy as I gather my thoughts to articulate these distressing memories. Physical reactions, the surge of heat on my face. She goes on and on basically to talk about the physical reactions that she still gets to this day when she thinks of what happened. She said she first met him in 2015 at a surprise party that he threw for Cassie for her 29th birthday. Cassie at the time had an apartment in the Wilshire Corridor condos. If you don't know, that is an area where a lot of famous men, athletes, politicians, allegedly, would put up their, mistresses or lovers or significant others or the girlfriends that were not, right? So basically what she claims is that Diddy threw her a surprise party. Cassie was surprised. Cassie wanted to leave and go do karaoke with some of her friends. Diddy forced himself into the situation. She was sad. Her friends went back to her apartment. They were all supposed to be spending the night there. Diddy said he's coming. He made her leave, and one of the friends was like packing her bag for her. And this particular friend, Tiffany Red, was like, why are you trying to make her go if she doesn't want to go? And she's like, don't worry, I've seen this before. She'll be back. Basically, she said Cassie came back, drugged out. Diddy was yelling, screaming, like, you gonna get this bleep tonight. You gonna get this birthday bleep tonight. And Cassie didn't want to, and that this was the kickoff to their freak-off session. So, like I said, it's a very detailed letter detailing events, things that she said happened, things that she said saw. She said that she felt intimidated just by Diddy when he introduced himself because he knew that she and Cassie were close, and he felt that Cassie might be telling her things. So, it continues to move forward, and we'll see what develops. This obviously isn't a suit, but we know that there are 3 others that are out there that are outstanding. So we shall see what develops for Diddy. When we come forward, we're going to get into, we talked briefly last night about Russell Simmons and him coming out and saying that, this has ruined his life. He's lost his companies. He's lost his charities, etc., etc. He is standing by the idea that though he may have been a tad pushy, that does not mean manipulation or coercion. All right? So we're going to listen to his thoughts and get into a little bit of that. And also, well, we'll get into the rest of that on the other side. You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
We hope you have a safe and relaxing holiday season.
Mask up and stay safe.
At KBLA Talk 1580,
we've got a lot to talk about.
And your voice is critical to all the conversation. Happy holidays.
Did you know that every year, public school teachers spend nearly $500 of their own money for student supplies? At Donors Choose, we want students and teachers to have the tools they need for a great education. And now, more than ever, they need your help. Go to DonorsChoose.org and choose from teachers' requests that support reading, math, science, music, and more. Learn more at DonorsChoose.org.
Donors Choose. Support a classroom. Build a future.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment. LA's 99 neighborhood councils form the grassroots level of the Los Angeles city government. The system was created to connect LA's diverse communities to City Hall. While neighborhood council board members are volunteers, they are also public officials elected to office by the members of their community. Neighborhood councils advocate on issues like homelessness, housing, land use, emergency preparedness, public safety, parks, transportation, and sustainability. They also provide local expertise on the delivery of city services to their various communities. Neighborhood councils are open to participation by anyone who is a part of the fabric of daily life in said community. This includes those who live, work, or own property or a business. If you are interested in stepping up to join your local neighborhood council, visit www.empowerla.org. That's empowerla.org. It's time to think globally, but act locally. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Today, young adults face big questions about their future. How will you make your mark? Do you want to be part of something bigger than yourself? Are you ready to learn new skills and make new friendships? Perhaps you have a dream that you're ready to make real. So, how will you make a mark with your future? As you embark on a journey toward finding these answers, the military can serve as a resource for providing help, information, and opportunities. A public service message from the Department of Defense. To learn more, visit todaysmilitary.com.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
If you're a veteran with a service-connected disability that is directly impacting your ability to work, resources are available to help you find employment. VA's Veteran Readiness and Employment, or VR&E, can assist you with finding a job that uses your existing skills. Or, if you're interested in exploring a new field, a VR&E counselor can help you determine the right education or training options for a new career. Find out if VR&E is right for you by visiting va.gov/VRE today.
Hey, keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. So we've spent a lot of time over the past few weeks talking about Diddy, Aaron Hall. We're going to talk about Russell Simmons shortly, some of the others. But there is someone that has also had several accusations weighed against him that has somehow kind of managed to go under the radar. And these accusations aren't new for him either. And they involve young black women, but I don't feel as though they've really been talked about. Again, someone else in the music industry. So there is a DJ producer. His name is Diplo. And Diplo has been accused by a young black woman of distributing revenge porn. She filed a police report with the LAPD claiming that he sent out nude photographs of her without her permission and claimed that he did the same in 2020. Now, that on its surface may not, obviously we know why it's wrong, may not sound like a big deal. But there have been several alleged incidents where young women, one of them being rapper Azealia Banks, and we know that Azealia can be difficult or interesting, and so people don't always take her as her word. But she also alleged that when she was 17, that he somehow abused her, sexually assaulted her. She said, "The types of terrible things Diplo used to do to me when I was 17 and broke. I was a little girl. Do you know the type of racist, demeaning, degrading stuff he would do to me?" She said this on her stories back in the day. This other young lady, Her name is Auguste. Shelley Auguste, apologies. And she is accusing him of similar acts. And they aren't the only ones. It has been a couple of other young women, a TikToker a few months ago, maybe that was last year, exposed him for allegedly taking advantage of her. She said that she was groomed by him when she was a teenager and that she wasn't in a good situation. And he had her come live with him, initially offering it as a safe space, and then took advantage of her. So there are a couple of suits that are out there related to him, and it has kind of gone under the radar. Again, all alleged, but if we're talking about all of these others, then it only makes sense to give space to someone else that is dealing with the same type of accusations and has been repeatedly over a course of time. So let's get into Russell Simmons. Russell says that it is not a crime to be a little pushy and that the culture was different in the 90s. And that is a conversation that we have been having on this show over the course of the last few weeks in reference to this. And for me, as a woman who worked in hip hop and in entertainment in the music industry in the 90s, I concur. It was a very different environment. And I think that to act as if we're just in a vacuum and context doesn't matter makes things more difficult in the current, at least to me. Because I think that that doesn't mean that that gives someone the right to abuse someone or to force them into a situation that they don't want to be in. But I do think you need to take into consideration what was considered okay and what would raise a red flag and what wouldn't be considered a red flag at all. Because those things change as we evolve as a society and as we grow and as we become more in tune. You hope that people, develop better sensory things, but, it still happens. So let's listen to Russell and his explanation as to why he may have emotionally hurt some people or not been the kindest, but not crossed that line.
Maybe you haven't lived in the real world. It's gray. No one's intentionally hurt anybody. It's a big difference. No one pushed anybody, and being pushy is different from pushing someone. Very gray.
Rape is a strong allegation, and some of these stories were that you pinned women down. I mean, like bad stuff, either happened or it didn't, right?
Yeah, it's a serious word, but I think they've changed the meaning.
How so?
Because I've never been violent to anybody. The rape is a violent crime. So it is a very serious. Somebody jumped out of bushes and raped somebody. It's different, I think. So it's a different kind of recollection. I mean, so I don't think anybody's saying I'm violent. Of course, I've been insensitive. But certainly I've never been forceful in any of my relationships.
So I think that one, a conversation that is had when you're talking about sexual assault is that a lot of people do not really respect the idea of it unless it is violent. For whatever reason, they can make a clear line in the sand for that and understand that. But when it comes to a more nuanced situation where there may have been some things that were consensual, but then the situation switched up, or there may have been, a personal relationship that some might not consider appropriate if you don't want to get into complicated situations. I think that it's important to have those conversations because those are the lines and the things that people get confused about and get their feelings hurt from or actually get hurt. I think that consent and what is considered romantic and consensual has evolved over the past 40 to 50 years. Things like things that we consider stalking now or inappropriate were considered romantic gestures or items that you wanted to see. The lens has changed, and we have to respect that. When it comes to looking back, sometimes your mind does change about a situation as the time changes, and sometimes you can see it with clarity, and sometimes life may reshape your thoughts and feelings. Specifically to those situations, I don't know. I just hope that those women have healing and peace, and if there is a resolve for them, we hope that it happens quickly. But I think the bigger issue is, how do you address the fact that all of the behavior, all of the ideas may not have been right step in line, but there was a line that many people considered a boundary that you don't cross, and they felt like they knew the line, and anything that was sort of to the left of that was fair game. How do you have those conversations without offending people that are victims and still allowing, again, not speaking specifically of the women involved in this, but allowing the women that may have made a bad choice, but maybe not necessarily forced into that choice, to have accountability, but still have the space to forgive themselves or re-examine it? I can tell you I don't have the answers on it. I'm just really, having a conversation that I think is important to have. Urban Spinster says, is Russell really saying that if he didn't jump out of the bushes, it's not rape? Come on now. Once consent is no longer given, stop. That's it. And I agree with you 100%. But let me ask you the question, right? Because I feel like back in the day, if you looked at like 80s programming or things like that, it was considered romantic to pursue even if you were being turned down. You think about characters like Urkel, the nerd in love with Laura Winslow. We saw characters like that all across TV that loved women, that pursued women, that rebuffed their advances, right? Slater from Saved by the Bell. That type of persistence was considered kind of quirky or charming in some ways. And I think that it also got misconstrued in our day-to-day life. Men were supposed to be aggressive. They were supposed to pick and choose. And it was kind of manly if they were just like, come on, you going with me, or just picked you up. And we started having more conversations about consent afterwards. So, I just think that it is an interesting thing to examine because our thoughts around certain things have changed. And even if you look at the pop culture of those times, you can see the ideas and the attitudes towards certain things changing. Listen, when we come forward, we're going to get into more of this topic. We're going to get into Rakim. Did he change hip-hop when he dropped? And also, we have interviews coming up from the new Prime Video film, Candy Cane Lane, that stars Tracy Ellis Ross, Eddie Murphy, and more. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
So walk so deep, Burberry fragrance on my shirt from when she hugged me. Hard as a rock when she touched me. Thinking now, cause she would've loved me. What it is, what it ain't, tell me what to do.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black information.